So here we have it, game number 1 of this best of 3 in the quarterfinals of the first ESL Pro Series Summer Cup 2014. I'm Madals, and on Outsrim Stronghold we have, to the lower right hand position, the red Protoss player representing Mouse Sports, HasuObs. And his opponent, to the top right, playing for Cascade, the yellow Zerg, HaNfy. So a nice little bit of PvZ coming down here. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to see what these two are going to be throwing down in terms of their strategy. It's a best of 3 and a very stacked bracket. These players have gone through some tough opponents. HasuObs took out Tyrannus and HaNfy took out Zeth. Both of those were 2-0s. So, HaNfy was 2-1 up against Zeth. So a very strong early start for these two players. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not, obviously, HasuObs, who's probably a bit more well known to general people, or HaNfy is going to be able to create a little bit of an upset here. So, as it starts, we've got Overlords coming out. Outsrim, huge map, so can take a very long time to get the scout down. Note HasuObs, despite this being an absolutely huge map, isn't risking a Nexus first, and that's a really wise decision getting down this gateway, because while it is very unlikely that your opponent has gone for an early pull, it's certainly something that can happen, and if it does and you've gone Nexus first, there's pretty much nothing you can do to stop it. So HasuObs playing things just on the safer side means he will get, obviously not the absolute perfect economic start that he may have been hoping for, but regardless, he can keep things going as best he can. So for the moment, HasuObs chucks down the Cybercore at the front. That adds a bit of a wall off. Meanwhile, HaNfy, back at his base, is going for the hatch pool opening. Very greedy, and up against the gateway expand, a very strong opening. So this is a nice start for HaNfy. He's getting himself into a very strong position, adding in the spawning pool now. So not the gas before that pool, which you do sometimes see if a Zerg player is being exceptionally greedy. But this is just a nice standard game. Quick little check-in now with this Overlord. He's going to go, okay, where are you, Hasu? His second Overlord coming down. That's going to get the scout. Meanwhile, HasuObs just about to take his natural base. Not too early. Just quite happy. Note that he was going to go up there to check to see if he saw an Overlord coming through. Doesn't know exactly where, actually no, he does know where his opponent's spawning now. Thanks to this Overlord, he knows that if it's already over there, it must have come from the top right. All looking good at the moment, and this is a very passive opening from both players. Neither really in a position where they're going to be able to apply much pressure anytime soon. The only thing that could happen is HasuObs could go for a lot of gateways and then look for a big Zealot timing due to only having one gas. But that's still quite a big ask. Not necessarily going to be the case, and with the Forge coming down at the front as well, does indicate that if it does come, it will be later. And now the second gas also in production just basically signals that no, that won't be happening this game. HaNfy, for the moment, he's adding in 3 additional drones, adding in the triple queens to start those inject cycles, and scaring off a probe as it stands. So, as an early game, this is all looking pretty damn nice. They're playing relatively safe, relatively steady, and not wanting to take big gambles in this first game. HasuObs, finishing up his natural base now, is starting the +1 melee attack upgrades for his ground army, or not even melee, +1 ground attacks. So this is a very standard game. We've got obviously the Mothership Core picking away at a couple of Lings, so that's a nice little takedown, but the Lings did manage to see the Forge. That's a giveaway of the tech HasuObs is running towards in this first game, and getting that little indicator early on is obviously very, very strong. Second gas being added into the mix, but going hatch pull, getting these 2 gases down simultaneously at already kind of 40-50 odd supply is not abnormally early. Not too much to worry about then from either of these two players. We do have HaNfy actually sacrificing an Overlord just to try and get some more scouting, but didn't really see anything that he would have wanted to. Only that the Forge is still researching something. And HasuObs is actually going to be playing this really greedy. Goes for a 3rd Nexus just before the 7-minute mark. So not crazy early, but definitely quite quick off the mark there. HaNfy on the other hand, adding in more gases. Going up to 3 gases isn't too crazy. Without a lair, it's relatively interesting. Should get that... Oh no, double upgrades coming through. Okay. So, not going super fast up into the lair, instead favoring the double upgrades. Could be 1-1 melee, certainly something that some Zerg players use up against Protoss if they're going for a Ling-centric style. Does mean use your lair, but it's a strong build, especially if you do look to go up into Infestor Ultra late game. HasuObs though, he's got his Twilight Council on its way. He's going to be able to start +2 very early, also have the tech of Blink and Charge available to him. So, a Blink build with +2 is certainly a good call, and there they go, both of them coming down. Should see a lot of additional gateways added in shortly, and as expected, we actually get from HaNfy the 1-1 melee attack. He's also pumping out 16 additional drones, going to go right past that 70 mark, fully saturate all 3 bases, and he appears to be preparing for a 4th in response to the early 3rd from HasuObs, wanting to stay a base up, wanting to make sure that his economy is in a good spot as he plows straight towards this late game. Both these two players certainly looking pretty well matched for each other for the moment, but it is very, very early days, so too soon to really draw any conclusions of what they're doing. The robotics facility being added in here as well now. That should just be for some observers early. May get to see something along the lines of a War Prism if the level of aggression wants to come through. Late game could also be a look to just grab out something like a couple of Colossi just for that splash damage, especially if a lot of Lings have been seen. Bit more scouting information now coming through from HasuObs as he sends over a hallucinated Phoenix. He's already seen the macro hatch, already seen the double evo chambers, so he's keeping a lot of information available. Spire and Infestation Pit both coming through now, and with 1-1 upgrades, there's a couple of different routes you can take with this. The Spire obviously going to be there looking for the Mutalisks. The gas income is pretty damn high for HaNfy, so he can get a good number of them down, and the Muta-Corruptor composition is very popular at the moment in the metagame of Zerg players. The Infestation Pit, Swarm Hosts of course a possibility, Infestors probably more likely just because of the 1-1 melee, and obviously that opens up Hive Tech as well to go to the Ultralisks. So, the Speedlings just checking around, trying to find some avenue to attack at the moment. Coming in from the flank, but HasuObs nicely positioned his army, should be completely safe from all those different attacks, and nothing too much to worry about for now. Mothership Core, poking, prodding, chipping away at this, but double, triple Stargates coming down. This is a good response from HasuObs, who of course has seen that the Spire is in construction, doesn't want to get caught unprepared for that, knows that the double evo chambers are coming through, and should have a good idea of what is really on the cards. During Locust came down for a second there, but was cancelled. I'm not sure if that was a fake out, trying to convince HasuObs that he was indeed going for either Infestors or trying to grab down a couple of Swarm Hosts, but regardless, those 3 Stargates are already on their way. Triple Phoenix production chrono boosted is going to be on the cards, but a huge number of Lings on the ground is going to make quite a threatening force, especially when we factor in there isn't any splash damage yet. There's the triple Phoenix for a moment there. Oracles were in production, and that would have led to a very unusual game early on, I think it's safe to say. So, not too much being given away as of yet from these two. The Observer does get a good view of everything that's coming in. The Phoenix count only just hitting 2 now, so these Mutalisks hitting at the precise time they need to. The Sentries getting focused down quickly. The Lings are all boxed in. A few Stalkers warping in from the high ground, but of course they're not going to fare too well against this mass of Zerglings. A few more Phoenix on their way. A lot of probes getting taken down here, and the Phoenix are only threatening if they can stay at range, using their kiting potential. One falls, another very low, but a Mutalisk bites the dust, more reinforcing in. The Phoenix production still 3 at a time, still adding in the +1 air weapons, but the Ling count is where things are looking quite terrifying. Those Lings are still 1-1, got about another 40 seconds until 2-2 starts, but HaNfy, he's buying himself time. He's adding in a 5th and 6th base simultaneously. Sorry, 5th and 6th base. I was right the first time. Going up to the 6th base is nice and quick. Also adding in some Corruptors now. Those Corruptors are going to be used to zone out the Phoenix away from the Mutas, if this is a big commitment into the Muta-Corruptor build. Alternatively, with the Hive now finished up, this could be for a Greater Spire, could be for a look into going Broodlords, but the Ultra Cavern already coming down. 3-3, Adrenal Glands on its way, and so this is a nice little move up into that Ultra Tech. What I find quite interesting and relatively unusual, I think it's safe to say, is the lack of Infestors. Infestors are a great choice if your opponent is heavily committing to Phoenix. The reason being, fungal growth. If you hit those good fungals, hit the money fungals and deal the good damage, you're able to shut down anything that they could really be doing with those. The Mutas can close up the distance, the Corruptors can get the damage down, and it's going to allow you to deal with that large Phoenix force relatively effectively. HasuObs though, his Star Sense is a tingling. He's cut Phoenix production now, hasn't seen any more Mutas, and we'll suspect that due to them being out in the field already, his opponent is going to be adapting and trying to deal with that in other ways. So for now, we're not seeing much in the way of aggression, just a little bit of movement in the Phoenix, trying to find somewhere they could harass. I'm surprised they haven't actually gone for some harassment at these fringe expansions, but while I say that, Ling's trying to move in, the Colossus is having none of that. +3 attack on it means it's doing a hideous amount of damage to those Speedlings, so they're forced to retreat away. The Phoenix just still keeping a tab on any bases that may have get taken, any hidden expansions that are about. But the all-important Adrenal Glands, the 3-3 upgrades, Chitinous Plating and Ultras popping out now for HaNfy. He's got to his late game tech at 16 minutes. He's really teched up quickly. Using the Rave Ultralisks as well, the Collector's Edition special of course. And they do look so damn sweet. I love the way they glow. Mutas, Corruptors, Ultras, Lings. Very scary composition. Is HasuObs in a position where he's going to be able to defend against this? A couple of Phoenix moving in. There's still 14 on the field, so this isn't even a big commitment of them. But the harassment is still looking very nice. The Spore Crawlers just tickle against it, not dealing enough damage to really be threatening. However, a heck of a lot of units moving across the map now. The Mutas going to attack from a different angle, coming in from the back most likely. The Ultras make force fields irrelevant, allowing those Lings to get up close and personal if needed. The attempt at a fourth base discovered, not going to allow too much to come in, and with the Mutas harassing at the natural, HasuObs is really getting pulled around. Ultras crushing through the army at the front. The Zealots trying to get up close and personal, but it's not doing enough. A lot on very low health, but the Protoss force just evaporating to that cleave. The Phoenix trying to pick up anything they can find. A lot of Lings able to dismantle that fourth base nice and efficiently. But for the moment, HasuObs has held. He's taken a lot of losses, but HaNfy arguably taken more. But, and it's a big but, HaNfy can afford to take those losses. He's at 74 drones, 6 bases, and his economy's pretty nice. It's getting stripped out a little bit by HasuObs at the moment as he moves in with those Phoenix, but not enough to be absolutely petrifying quite yet. So, this game still going fairly well for both of these two players. I'd say neither's getting a massive lead at the moment. HaNfy not got an ideal composition as HasuObs obviously reaches the later stages of his game. As he approaches a much higher army composition, he's going to be able to just have a more expensive army, and these things are going to get less effective the longer the game goes on. But HaNfy now transitioning into the Brute Lords. He's had a very rapid, very steady tech increase throughout this game. It's been his focus, and that's leaving HasuObs somewhat grasping for straws. While he's able to deflect the aggression for now, securing up a fourth base isn't something that he's been able to achieve. That means, economically speaking, while it's looking alright for him at the moment, his main base is just mined out. His natural base is getting pretty low, so the fourth becomes essential. Otherwise, HaNfy is going to be completely comfortable throwing wave upon wave of units at his opponent, and even if he doesn't trade effectively, he's just got so many more things. The Broodlords have been scouted though, so Void Ray production commencing over on HasuObs' side, and unfortunately for him, he's in a position where he really needs a bit of everything. Glad to see the Tempers coming up. They're obviously a lot better at dealing with Broodlords than Void Rays are, but require the Fleet Beacon. Big warping of Zealots and a Dark Templar are going to be heading into this base, looking to get a couple of kills. A few Spines in construction, not going to be enough to stop that, especially with the Spore Crawlers also not done. That can get focused out quickly. Lings, I'm burrowing, gonna head in to check and see whether the 4th base is getting started, but nope, it's being denied yet again. The Ultras, Infestors, so the Ultras, the Lings, the Broodlords all moving forward and the shelling starting. This is looking dangerous for HasuObs. He's got to position his army very carefully. He doesn't have many Tempests yet, only 3 on the field. They've just popped out and they need to get some great hits off on the Broodlords. Broodlords edging closer, but the Tempest hits starting to come through. The Corruptors moving forward, getting some good shots off. The Broodlords also moving in, getting very in your face. The Ultralisks on the ground, getting some nice damage, but it's the Tempest just dishing out way too much damage. The Broodlords getting picked apart, and it's another good trade for HasuObs. He's destroyed over, or nearly 10,000 more resources than his opponent. But HaNfy is still on 5 bases to the 3 of HasuObs. HasuObs pretty much mined out at his natural base now, only a couple of 100 minerals remaining on each patch there. So the move out that we're seeing now is critical if HasuObs wants to take this game. He needs to hit HaNfy before he's able to amass another late game kind of maxed out army. And that's what's happening. HasuObs moving across the map now. He's got a very strong composition. Some Ultras are going to pop out, but with the Archons and the Immortals in this course, it's going to do well. A couple of Speedlings have counterattack, but getting that economic damage isn't a massive concern to HasuObs at the moment. He's not attempting a 4. He knows he's got to end this now. It's up to HaNfy to hold it off. The Ultras moving in, but the Immortals getting a lot of damage down, just shredding through those Ultralisks with that massive damage against Armored, and of course the Hardened Shield to defend against that cleave. In come the Tempest as well, now getting some more damage through a lot of those Overlords getting killed, but GG is cooled, and there we have it. HasuObs takes game number 1.